This is the October 19th, 2023 Land Use Commission meeting. This is an in-person meeting which is being held at the Maui Arts and Cultural Center, Higashi Meeting Room number 1, Cameron Way, Kahului, Hawaii, 96732, and it's open to the public. Court reporting transcriptions are being done from a Zoom recording of this meeting. For all meeting participants, I'd like to stress the importance of speaking slowly, clearly, and directly into your microphone. Before speaking each time, please state your name and identify yourself for the record. Even though this is an in-person meeting, please be aware that all meeting participants are being recorded on the digital record of this Zoom meeting, and this is for court reporting purposes. Your continued participation is your implied consent to be part of the public record of this event. If you do not wish to be part of the public record, you should exit the meeting now. My name is Dan Giovanni, and I have the pleasure to serve as the LUC chair. We currently have 9 seated commissioners along with me today. 8 are in attendance, including Commissioner Leo Higashi from Maui, Commissioner Mel Kahele, and Commissioner Koiki Kamakea Ohelo, Commissioner George Atta, Commissioner Brian Lee, all from Oahu, Commissioner Michael Yamane from the island of Kauai, Commissioner Nancy Carr-Smith is from the island of Hawaii. Commissioner Gary Akuda is excused from this meeting. Also in attendance are the LUC Executive Director Daniel Orendenker, LUC Chief Planner Scott Derrickson, LUC Staff Planner Martina Segura, and LUC Chief Clerk Ariana Kwan, and LUC Attorney General Julie China. Our first order of business for the day is the WDV's, I use that acronym, motion for extension of time. This was filed on June 6, 2023 for an extension of time to complete the project and notification of amendment to HRS 201H WAIKAPU Affordable Housing Project. I'd like now for the parties to introduce themselves, starting with the petitioner.
Good morning, Chair and members. Jeff Uyoka for WAIKAPU Development Venture.
Thank you, Mr. Uyoka from the state.
Good morning, Deputy Attorney General Brian Yee. On behalf of the Office of Planning and Sustainable Development, with me is Katia Balasiano from OPSD.
Thank you. From the county.
Good morning, Chair and Commission members. Michael Hopper, Deputy Corporation Counsel representing the Maui County Department of Planning. With me are planners Ann Kua and Tara Furukawa.
Thank you. So just for the record, Mr. Hopper, I've had no indication from anyone that we need the gentleman from the housing to return today.
Okay, thank you for letting us know.
Yeah. If that changes, I'll let you know, but it's almost 10 o'clock now, so.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
As a preliminary matter, before we begin, I'd like to move that we incorporate the record from yesterday to avoid, so we don't have to call back the Deputy Director, into the record that is being presented today, so that we have a full record of yesterday and today to make our determination in this matter.
Second, Mr. Chair.
So the motion is to incorporate yesterday's record into today's record for today's meeting, so we don't have to repeat a lot of the detail or requests. Do I have any objections to that motion or comments on it from the parties, starting with Mr. Uyoka?
Jeff Uyoka. No objections.
State?
No objection.
County?
No objection.
Commissioners? Any comment? Let's have a voice vote on this motion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? No. So moved. Are there any further disclosures at this time by any of the commissioners that they'd like to make relative to the matter before us today? Hearing none, I'll proceed to a description of the procedures. Let me explain the procedure. First, I will ask the parties to identify themselves, which I've done. Then I will ask if there are any disclosures, which I have done. Next, I will give an opportunity for the petitioner to comment on the Commission's policy governing reimbursement of hearing expenses. Then I will recognize the written public testimony that has been submitted in this matter, identifying the person or organizations who have submitted the testimony. Next, I will call for the members of the public who wish to testify on the motion before the Commission today. Members of the public will each have 2 minutes to provide their personal testimony and should stand by after their testimony to respond to any questions the parties or the commissioners may have. When all questions have been completed, the chair will excuse the witness and call the next witness to the witness box. After completion of the public testimony portion of the proceedings, I will give an opportunity for the parties to admit their additional exhibits and witnesses to the list for the record. Then the petitioner will provide its case in support of its petition and receive any questions and comments from the Commission. The chair will then call on the county and subsequently OPSD to make their cases and receive questions and comments from the commissioners. The petitioner will be able to make rebuttal statements at that point in time. At the conclusion of the parties' presentations of evidence and commissioners' questions, the public will again be granted the opportunity to provide public testimony in the same manner set previously. Finally, after all parties have presented their case on the Commission, we'll conduct formal deliberations and have a decision on the motion. The chair will also like to note for the parties and the public that from time to time I will be calling short breaks, nominally 5 to 10 minutes per hour. And as necessary, if we continue, we will also take a lunch break. Any comments or objections to the procedure as I've described? Mr. Uyoka.
Jeff Uyoka, no comments.
State.
No objection.
County.
No objection.
Thank you. For the record, please be informed that all relevant records and documents pertaining to this matter can be addressed for review on the LUC website, specifically under Pending Documents tab. Interested parties are welcome to review the documents at their convenience. Reimbursement policy. Mr. Uyoka, have you reviewed HAR 151545 regarding the reimbursement of hearing expenses?
Chair, yes.
Could you state your client's position with respect to this policy?
No objections to it. We'll follow it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I will now recognize written public testimony submitted in this matter, identifying the person or organization submitting the testimony. Ms. Kwan, has there been any written testimony submitted on this matter?
Yes, Mr. Chair. On October 12th, we received testimony from County of Maui Department of Housing and Human Concerns. On October 17th, we received comments from Lena Kami, Linda Schatz, and Councilmember Thomas Cook. And on November 17th, we received Lena Kami and Carrie Abaroff.
All these posted?
Yes.
Thank you. Next, I will call on any members of the public to provide testimony on this agenda item. Are there any, Ms. Kwan, has anyone signed up to provide testimony today?
Yes, Mr. Chair. The first sign-up is Cheryl. I don't know how to say the last name.
Is Cheryl, we don't know how to say the last name here.
Adolfo. My apologies.
Is she here?
Yeah. Go to the testimony seat.
Please go over to the microphone and table.
Oh, you want Glenn to go before you? Okay, sure. Glenn, would you take the testimony seat? First up is Glenn Adolfo.
So, Mr. Adolfo, I will like you to identify yourself and your residential address, and then I would swear you in, and then you proceed to give your testimony.
My name is Glenn Adolfo. Is this on?
I see. Okay. My name is Glenn Adolfo. I'm a resident of WAIKAPU, and my residential address is 63 Ka'ikai Street, Wailuku, Hawaii.
Thank you. Mr. Adolfo, do you swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth?
Yes.
Please proceed. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Aloha mai kākou, everyone. Aloha, commissioners. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to testify. For the record, my name is Glenn Adolfo. I'm a resident of the WAIKAPU community. I serve as a board member for the WAIKAPU Homeowners Association and also as a member for the WAIKAPU Community Association for the past 15 years. Today I am testifying on my own behalf, and I'm here to testify on item A07-773B regarding the WAIKAPU regarding the WAIKAPU Development Venture Project and a motion to extend the time to complete the project and also notification of amendments to HRS 21H WAIKAPU Affordable Housing Project. I'm here to testify in support of number 1, extending the time to complete the project, and number 2, allowing the developer to amend the plans to replace 12 duplex homes within the project to 12 single-family homes, bringing the total number of homes to 80 for this project. This will help the current affordable housing shortages here on Maui. Many of our local people have been faced with the reality of having to uproot their families and move to the mainland where they can afford a home. I have family members myself in the same situations, nephews and nieces that have gone off to college, and when it's time to come home, they realize just how expensive a home is and also how expensive it is to live in Hawaii. Given the choice, they would prefer to move back home where they can be among family members and start their families. The grandchildren could be watched by the grandparents, and there's a network of family support here for them. Mr. Gomes and Mr. Ota have been very transparent with our community association. They attend our meetings and they have given us updates on the status of their project at each and every one of our meetings anytime we call on them. They have even helped our community to clean up a homeless encampment that was starting with old junk cars, appliances, furniture being dumped on the side of the road, and then homeless people camping in there. It became a big issue and one of the top priorities for our community. When we first met with them, this was discussed. They took it upon themselves to clean up the trash and the derelict vehicles that was left there all on their own with no help from the community. So we appreciate their efforts and what they have done for our community. These are 2 local boys from Maui trying to help build much needed affordable housing for our people of Maui, and I humbly ask for your support in granting their requests so that they can move their project forward. Again, mahalo for allowing me this time to testify, and mahalo for your service to our island and the people. And at this time, I'll be happy to answer any questions that you folks may have.
Thank you very much, Mr. Adolfo, for your testimony. Any questions for the witness from the petitioner?
Jeff Uyoka. Thank you, Mr. Adolfo. No questions.
Thank you. From the county?
No questions, Chair.
Thank you. From state?
No questions.
Thank you. Commissioners, any questions for Mr. Adolfo? Let me add my thank you for coming forward and representing.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah. You may go. And the next witness would be?
Next we have Cheryl Adolfo.
Aloha mai kākou. Mahalo for this opportunity to testify.
Excuse me. You need to swear her in.
My apologies.
My apologies. I just need 1 second to confer on a separate matter. Yeah, I just want to clarify one thing for the record that came to my mind listening to Mr. Adobo. The matter before us today is exclusively the motion to extend time, and it doesn't deal with any conversion of plans from duplexes to single-family homes. Mr. Uyoka, you look perplexed.
Thank you, Chair. Jeff Uyoka. I was hoping that because in the 2019 motion to bifurcate and all of that, is 4 motions, it was stated that as a representation that the developer would build in compliance with the 201H application. We were hoping today that the commission would also recognize the proposed 201H application that we're taking back to the county as the changes to the plan, because it was a representation that we were going to build the 12 duplexes.
Yeah, I think
we wanted to correct that.
Yeah, I think your intent is clear. We've also heard that there is concurrence with county housing personnel, so we don't see any issue here. It's just a matter of cleaning the record, and I think you should formally request our acknowledgement of that rather than just assume that we acknowledge it by representation. Yeah, but it's not agendized today, so if you come before us today just to clean the record, it should be requested.
Do you wanna?
One second. Trying to clean it up. Yeah, but I'd like to know if they've requested it and we just didn't acknowledge it. So check it for us. We're going to do some background checking here. We'll return to this question. Let me finish with the we'll do that. Okay. My apologies for the... So, will the witness please identify yourself by name and reference to where you live, and then I'll swear you in.
Aloha mai kako, mahalo for this opportunity to testify. For the record, my name is Cheryl Adolfo, and I am speaking on my own behalf. I was born and raised on Maui, a resident of Waikapu at 63 Ka'ikai Street in Wailuku.
Thank you. Do you swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth?
I do.
Please proceed.
I am a resident of Waikapu and a member of the Waikapu Community Association. I am here to testify on item A07-773B regarding the Waikapu Development Venture Project and motion for extension of time to complete the project and notification of amendment to HRS 201H Waikapu Affordable Housing Project. I am supporting extending the time to complete the project, and if it's okay for me to say, the plan to replace 12 duplex units to 12 single-family homes.
It's okay for you to say.
Thank you. Being born and raised here, Maui will always have a special place in my heart. After graduating from college in the mainland and returning to Maui, I was really worried that I may have to, like many family and friends I know, make the heartbreaking decision to move to the mainland. Thankfully, my husband and I were blessed with the opportunity to purchase a home here on Maui. Since then, I try to do what I can to promote the availability of affordable homes for our local people, for the people who love and care for Maui, and invest and support our island communities. I know that Mr. Gomes and Mr. Ota have good intentions and also would like to have more affordable housing available for our working local residents. I'm grateful they have taken on this venture to hopefully make it a reality. I appreciate each of you and your time and service. Mahalo.
Mahalo. So, petitioner, any questions for the witness?
Jeff Uyoka. Thank you very much, Mrs. Adolfo. No questions.
Thank you. County, any questions?
No, thank you, Chair.
State?
No questions, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners? No questions, so thank you very, very much for coming forward.
Mahalo.
Ms. Ariana?
Nobody else signed up at this time.
Okay, thank you. So at this time, we have to do a little internal research, and so I'm going to call for a 10-minute recess, and we'll go back on the record at 10:05. Thank you. I'd like to go back on the record. So first I'd like to have the record acknowledge that Ms. China had to step away for a short while due to a external condition, emergency she's also responsible for, but we're going to continue in her absence. Okay, so there are no additional public witnesses, is that correct?
Not at this time.
Okay. Admission of exhibits. Mr. Uyoka, please describe the exhibits which you wish to have admitted to the record, if any, at this point in time.
Thank you, Chair Jeff Uyoka. We'll stand by what we submitted.
Thank you. And that includes the PowerPoints from yesterday, which is...
Correction, we'll also be adding another PowerPoint today. We will get it to Ms. Ariano when this is complete and I'm able to format it properly.
Fair enough. Any objections by the parties?
No objection, Chair. No objection.
Thank you. County, do you have any exhibits you wish to have admitted to the record today?
Chair, just the four that were attached to the county's position statement in response to the motion you should already have. There's also public testimony submitted by a county agency, but I think that that's already part of the record. But just the four exhibits attached to the county's position statement.
So noted. Are there any objections to the county's new exhibits? Mr. Uyoka?
Jeff Uyoka, no objections.
No objection.
Commissioners, any objections? Hearing none, county's exhibits are admitted to the record. OPSD, do you have any exhibits for the record?
We'll stand on our only filing of the letter from the Department of Transportation dated February 6, 2018. That's previously filed.
Is that a new exhibit?
No, it was simply attached to our response.
Okay, fine. So you're basically no new exhibits.
Correct.
Thank you. I'd like the record to show that Ms. China has returned and is now in attendance. Thank you, Ms. China. Okay, presentations. Mr. Uyoka, for planning purposes, will you describe how you will be presenting your case today and approximately the duration?
Jeff Uyoka, PowerPoint presentation. You guys have the motion and the petition in front of you, and should be less than 10 minutes.
Okay, so let's proceed with your presentation. of the PowerPoint. We'll see where we are on the clock and decide whether we'll take questions there or take another brief recess. So please proceed.
Thank you, Chair. Okay, so today we have our motion to extend time and the request for this body to recognize or adopt or find that the proposed 201H amendments are acceptable and we will be in substantial compliance moving forward. So the amendments to the 2008 DNO were done in July 11, 2019. They included completion of construction deadline, the bifurcation, the compliance with the 201H application, and the cultural impact assessment requirement, among some other more procedural matters. So condition 2 basically stated that complete the construction of workforce housing project no later than 4 years from the date of this order. So that would have been a July 11, 2023 deadline. As of this date, we are not completed with the project, and we're seeking an extension. So we're asking that we be able to extend the completion of construction deadline to September 7, 2027. That is the same date we're asking for an extension for the County of Maui in our proposed 201H amendment application. The bifurcation statement was something along this. Those docket is henceforth bifurcated into dockets A and B, and those matters relating to that portion of petition area apply to ELC, and those matters applying to petition area for WAIKAPU Development Venture apply to WAIKAPU Development Venture. So that's the bifurcation. We're not asking for anything on that today. Compliance with the 201H application. This was the statement in the 2008 or 2019 DNO. So it essentially stated that the intervener's description of the HRS 201H project in its application is hereby considered to be intervener's representations to the Commission for all purposes, including condition 1, which is the compliance with representations. So what we're asking for today is that the Commission find that for all purposes, including the application of condition 1, WDV shall develop the project in accordance with Resolution 18-150 as amended. That'll be up in front of the County Council. 18-150 was the original 201H application, or 201H resolution. It was amended in 2020 for an extension of time by the county. So yesterday it came up, not necessarily pertinent today, but it was asked by Commissioner Lee. These are the Maui County 100% residential workforce housing unit exemptions that are included in various sections of the county code regardless of 201H. So it's a good group of exemptions for a project. I don't know the exact dollar value of any of that, but those are what's exempt. As part of the 2018 201H application, additional exemptions requested were fees relating to the fire code, inspection, permits, building, plumbing, electrical inspection fees, and traffic impact fees. None exist right now, but every 201H application I've ever seen has always put that in just in case they're adopted in between when the 201H is approved and when you actually start going for permits. I have with me today Trisha Kaolani Watson. She was the author of the Cultural Impact Assessment. I went over the big points yesterday, but I have them listed here. I won't read them in the interest of time, but she's here if you guys have any questions on that. We also have Tyler Fujiwara, our traffic engineer, in case you guys have any traffic questions, although it's not on the agenda for today. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Okay, Commissioners, any questions for Mr. Uyoka? Commissioner Ohigashi.
Mr. Uyoka, in order to extend the time, we have to find good cause, right? Could you identify, in simple terms, what you believe good cause exists to extend the deadline?
Jeff Uyoka. This is an 80-unit, 100% residential workforce housing unit project. Maui County and the state of Hawaii, in fact, is in a crisis for housing in general, especially affordable housing. This project won't solve it, but it will meet some of the needs. So, in my opinion, that would be good cause. Thank you.
I'm sort of like looking for reasons why it wasn't completed earlier, and why that is not in line with what normally occurs in a project, and therefore it is obvious that there is basis to enter an order extending time. So I'm asking you to identify those factors. Normally I would see them in the motion, that there was a good cause exists because this that, and it's a good project. We all agree to that, but that's in my mind not the standard for us to extend time. Our standard to extend time deals with unanticipated costs. But I think you've mentioned it. Interest rates increases, the affordability of the project became questioned, the viability of the project came in question. You had to seek these fundings. It took this amount of time, and that's why you need to. Oh, did I give you the answer already? I apologize. You understand the question?
Jeff Uyoka. So, Commissioner Ohigashi, my apologies if I wasn't clear. This was approved in 2019, late 2019. Within a year, COVID-19 hit, and while construction could actually proceed, this project was nowhere near the construction phase. It was still in the planning phase, so nothing proceeded for a year or two. At the end of the COVID-19 pandemic, interest rates were at a very high level. Costs of labor materials were at a very high level, higher than anticipated in 2017-16 when this project first came about. It was a different world after COVID, and compounding that was the fact that Bill 107 passed on the County of Maui, which changed the affordable housing sales price guideline calculations to basically lower them. So all of those factors basically made the project, it wasn't going to move forward. In a last-ditch effort, ownership requested the Maui County Council, or presented to the Maui County Council for a budget amendment that gave them I'll call it the gap financing that would be needed in order to make the project pencil and workable. That was received earlier this year. As you know, we came for the status update. So those were the hardships or changes in circumstances that dictate the need for additional time. And we do believe they were legitimate causes and would warrant, a showing of good cause for an extension. Thank you.
Commissioner Lee. Thank you, Chair. Mr. Uyoka, can you give us a little bit more information on the current owners, on their development experience, credentials, bona fides, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, one of the members, Mr. Gomes, his civil site contractor for, a very long time. They're very experienced civil contractors. Family had a trucking company since probably the 70s, but they're civil site contractors. One of the other partners, I think it's WAIKAPU LLC, one of the members, they have a development arm, affordable housing primarily. They've constructed over 200 affordable housing units here on Maui and are always anxious to build more. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Uyoka. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Commissioners, anything more? I have a question for Ms. Watson. Can you bring her forward, and I'd like to swear her in?
Morning, Commissioners.
Good morning. Would you please state your name for the record, and I'll swear you in.
My name is Dr. Tricia Kehaulani Watson Sprout. And
Ms. Watson, do you agree to tell their testimony to be the truth?
yes.
Thank you. Yesterday we got a brief overview of your findings in the CIA you did for the specific property. I wondered if you could take a moment to characterize in your own words the work that you did and the findings from that, and also if it makes sense to you to comment by extension of how your findings might extend to the general area of this project, including where the school might be built in the future?
Thank you. That's a great question. So first, as with all our cultural impact assessments, we basically do research into the entire Ahupua'a. So if you look at the OEQC, so what used to be the Office of Environmental Quality and Control and is now ERP, Environmental Review Program, that seems right. They put out guidance on conducting CIAs in 1999 at first, and then I think they updated it, but they stayed the same. And so they do ask that you do a few things. One is you look at the entire geographic extent of the area, which they recommend to the entire Ahupua'a. And then they ask for, you look at previous oral histories, and then you conduct some additional ethnographic studies. We interviewed 2 individuals for this, Daryl Fujiwara, who is the president of Maui Council of the Hawaiian Civic Clubs. So he's a practitioner himself and knowledgeable about the area and from the area. And then also Ikaika Blackburn, who in addition to being a firefighter is the lead singer from the group Nahoa. So he's a hakumele and he's very familiar with the hula and Hawaiian community, also from the area. So we did those interviews. We also look at the biological assessments on all the time. So what we do is we look at that to see if those assessments identify natural resources of interest or importance or cultural importance specifically. So we look at the flora and the fauna. We also look at the water studies. And then we also look at the archaeological surveys to see if there are any traditional or historic properties in the area. When we didn't identify anything of particular concern for cultural practitioners. I believe the biological assessment identified uhaloa, which is a medicinal plant used for la'au lapa'au, but it is a very common plant. It's found throughout Hawaii. So I did not have particular concerns that any impact to the uhaloa that would be found in the area would have an adverse impact to traditional and customary practices for anybody who may use uhaloa in the area. And then I believe there was also the native bat, Pae. Oh, okay, thank you.
Is that the hoary bat?
Yes, it is. But as I noted in the report, it's protected under state and federal law, and there aren't known common cultural practices. So even if practitioners identified that as being of use, state and federal law prohibits the taking of these animals. So. And then I did a site visit of the area and didn't identify anything in particular where I thought it would be actively used for traditional and customary practices. So basically what we concluded is while absolutely in this area and its larger geographic extent, there are traditional and customary practices that occur. There were no active traditional practices on the parcel itself. And sort of to your last question, because these parcels are in immediate proximity to one another and in fact adjacent, I do believe the findings from the cultural impact assessment and its kapa'akai analysis would very much extend to the neighboring property where the church would like to place the school.
Thank you very much. That's exactly the answer I was looking for. Let me ask commissioners any further, since we have Ms. Watson before. Commissioner Yamani, did you have a question? Oh, okay. Thank you very much. Koike, did you? I'm just trying.
Mahalo, Dr. Watson, for being available for questions. So, in regards to the Opeape'a, are you aware that if an area is deemed to hold these Opeape'a as a habitat, that the state law and federal law, that this allows the removal of trees in a certain time period? Mm-hmm. Okay, and is that reflected in your CIA?
I would have to check. Can I check?
Please do.
I do think, I can't remember if I specifically said about the time period, but I do believe I do reference that BMPs are recommended. So I do believe those BMPs would incorporate the BMPs that were from the biological assessment, which would say that you could not conduct activities that would affect their habitat. So that's typically how we handle that, is we recommend the adherence to the BMPs, which I believe in this case would include no construction during any pupping season where there would be concern about impacting their habitat.
Mahalo, and I have one follow-up question. In your research and in your expertise, do you believe that the gathering of food is a traditional and customary practice and right for Native Hawaiians?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so my follow-up question to that is trying to figure out how I'm going to frame this. Have you had the opportunity, or have you considered interviewing hunters and gatherers from the area that may rely on the petition area to gather food such as the axis deer for sustenance?
We often do interview either fishermen or hunters. I believe in other CIAs I've done for Maui, we've done exactly that. And again, I think from what we got, and I do believe Ikaika also hunts, I don't believe Daryl does. Daryl's family has a farm in the immediate area, so I do think that addresses the food gathering and the practices around food and cultivation. And again, I don't believe this project in particular would adversely affect hunting, but I do absolutely think hunting, it can continue, I mean, also contemporaneous hunting. So pig hunting with knives or even rifles, although I don't believe hunting with rifles is allowed in this area, is absolutely a right.
Mahalo nui. Chair, that is all.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioners, anything addition for Ms. Watson? I want to thank you again, but thanks for coming forward and making the time to be with us today.
It's always a pleasure to come before you folks.
I'm sure it is. Okay, where are we?
Mr. Chair, are we still on the...
We're still on the petitioner, so Commissioner Imani.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Oka, so yesterday, I don't want to belabor the point on the TIAR updates, but I know you were hoping that the land use would kind of like look at that TIAR requirement differently. Could you kind of refresh our memories, because that was yesterday, kind of what you were looking for from the TIAR requirement?
Thank you, Commissioner. Our hope was that the Commission would support something to the effect of to relieve both parties, but WAIKAPU Development Venture had a more recent TIAR done. And based on the fact that the Condition 5 references state impacts and correcting state impacts to the state highway system, that there could be some kind of amendment to allow clear statement that Condition 5 does not apply to WAIKAPU Development Venture, as state DOT has opined and confirmed that the project will not, based on the 2018 TIAR done by WDV, that it will not affect state highways. And naturally, as part of the subdivision process, the county will see to it that the county road standards are met and everything, but that's part of the subdivision process. But that was our hope, to clarify. Thank you.
Thanks. And then you also mentioned about the cost and how that would possibly be a no-go. Could you kind of elaborate on that again?
Jeff Uyoka. So, I believe Emmanuel Lutheran said, if they were to find out that it would cost hundreds of thousands, and naturally our hope is that because the state DOT has already opined on ours, it wasn't as much of a concern for us. That's why we did not bring it up as a set out go no go thing. But naturally, if we get told, oh, you owe $5 million in state highway traffic improvements, probably be a no go for an affordable housing project. But it hasn't ever looked that way, so we did not bring that up. But yeah, that's our hope, is that we can even avoid the cost of updating the TIR. I have my traffic engineer here, so I hope I'm not offending him too much.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. No more questions.
Thank you, Mr. Imani. Mr. Higashi.
Just a follow-up then, if the state is not requiring anything, it would seem not necessary to modify as to your client's project.
Thank you, Jeff Uyoka. The issue is, though, that we're required, well, I'm going to say it doesn't apply to us, but it could be read that we're required to update the TIAR. We're hoping to avoid even that expense, as, the state's looked at it, the state DOT has looked at it twice and said not. And also, just for the complete avoidance of doubt, I think it would make my clients sleep a little easier at night. Thank you.
So, if there's an updated TIR, what's your understanding, in accordance with Condition 5, when that would need to occur for your project?
Jeff Uyoka, I would argue when we open a school, so would in theory be never, but if it were interpreted to mean that we must comply with the ELC, it's an overall for both parties, even after bifurcation. In theory, when ELC open, the way it's worded right now, when ELC opened the school and within 3 months, in theory, WAIKAPU Development Venture would need to update the TIAR and follow those processes, which would be, if all goes well, it would probably be very strange because the developer would likely be out of the picture at that point.
So I'm trying to fill in the blanks with what you just said, and it might be instructive to use a hypothetical, just for a timeline. So if, and you can fill in the blanks in this hypothetical, but as you interpret Condition 5 as currently written, and let's assume that you complete the development by your proposed extended date of 2027, and that the school is not built until 2030 and open. Just assume that. When would the updated TIR occur for your development? And when would the mitigations that are recommended by that TIR have to occur? And you could do a worst case scenario if you want.
Thank you, Jeff Uyoka. So, if the school were to open in 2030, the way the condition is, well, of course we would argue we never would trigger because we're separate, and Condition 5 doesn't specifically apply to us. If it were.
But as its condition is currently written, it applies to both of you.
Okay, yeah, if it's interpreted that way, 2030, I would argue, when the school opens, within 3 months of that, or around 3 months, WAIKAPU Development Venture, which would probably already be out of the picture, would be caused to update the TIAR and have discussions with state DOT to figure out what would be necessary to mitigate the traffic impacts from WAIKAPU Development Venture and reach some sort of understanding on construction or contribution to a project at that time.
Which theoretically could occur 5 years or more after your project is completed.
Jeff Uyoka, well, we're hoping ELC moves forward quickly, but yes, you are correct.
Just under this.
Yeah, under this hypothetical, yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, anything further for Mr. Uyoka? Okay. County, may we have your remarks and presentation on this matter?
Thank you, Chair and members of the Commission. The County of Maui did file a position statement in support of the requested motion. The motion covers the extension of time as well as the recognition of the representation modification of the project from 6 duplex units to 12 single-family units. So the county has provided in its response its position on those items. It believes that there is good cause shown to allow for the time extension. Before the fires, there was a housing crisis, and there was even an emergency proclamation from the governor on housing. And subsequent to that, after the fires, there's an even, I think, more pressing need for housing. And so, for a project that was sort of already in the pipeline, the county believes that it's important to continue forward with this particular project because of it's further along than maybe a project from scratch. There are bumps in the road, but through the county funding process and through the continued development, the county is hopeful that this project does end up being developed and that these critically needed units are provided. we heard from Deputy Housing Director Samalu Matafala yesterday on the position of the Department of Housing and Human Concerns, and he gave you the background on the county funding aspect of this. So you can see that not only the planning department, but the county, the county council, the county administration believe this is an important project to go forward, and certainly the basis for the extension. COVID hitting, this is certainly not the only project that is having challenges with in that time frame that deal with financing of the project and the challenges that I'm sure all of you are aware of in developing projects in Maui County. So using a project that has already gone through the process, modifying it, we think is something that has merit, and the county supports these requested modifications to the decision in order and has filed its position statement along those lines. We have Planner Nkua and Tara Furukawa here in case there's additional questions, but we think we did cover the county's position in its position statement and throughout our discussion yesterday, and we appreciate that being added to the record today because I think it clarifies our position. So we don't have anything else to add at this point, and if there's questions, we'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you very much. So, one sec. So, Commissioners, any questions for the county? Commissioner Ohigashi.
In regard to the changes made in the plan, development plan, did the county, my understanding is it's included as part of the 201H project, is that right?
It will be. There will need to be an amendment to the 201H project as a condition condition precedent to receipt of the funds. So there's going to have to be an amendment granted by the county council to the 201H along the same lines as this motion.
And the second thing is that has the county housing department, can you represent whether the housing department has reviewed and approved of those changes?
I'm not sure if where that is. Perhaps the petitioner has specific information on what's been received and what's been reviewed. I'm certain the county council hasn't approved it yet. So that's a significant step, and I don't see any reason that the housing department would object to those changes because it was certainly aware of the changes in this motion, as well as the fact that there will be modifications, and that those modifications are a required condition precedent to providing the funds.
But the county's position is that they support those changes.
Yes.
And so, did you guys get all approvals for that?
Yeah, I don't want to misrepresent that they've received the revised 201H yet and have taken a position on it, but yes, clearly the department supports the changes and would be supporting them in front of the county council.
I just want to be clear.
And then just, Ms. Kua wanted me to note the Department of Housing and Human Concerns did review the county's position statement for consistency and supports the position.
So I had a follow-up on Commissioner Ohigashi's questioning to the petitioner regarding the reasonableness of the delays that have occurred. Can you comment upon, and I think you heard the answers that was given, the circumstances that have led us to the point that they did not meet the original deadline and the reasons for that? Can you comment from the county's perspective about the reasonableness of as expressed by the petitioner?
I think we'd generally agree. I mean, you did have COVID-19. You also have the general baseline that it's very difficult to develop. It's a challenge to develop affordable housing in the state and in the county. I think you had asked earlier about sort of the typical development timeline for an affordable project, and the typical is, at least in a lot of cases, becoming sort of atypical. There has to be sort of unique ways to bring a lot of these projects to fruition. So I would say that this is not the only project that's having these issues where the county has to look at potential support or other means of financing. We've had other projects come before you in Maui that had to look for, modifications or sort of unique ways for infrastructure and other issues. So we do think in this case the delays have been reasonable, and we do think it's worth it to allow this extension for the developer to come in and bring the project to fruition and get the units hopefully built.
So building on that situation that has occurred and the matter that's before us today, we've all experienced what it takes what we're all going through procedurally and to get this extension done. And my point is, we don't want to have to go do this again. So I'm asking, I think I'm going back to the petitioner, but I appreciate the county's perspective on this as well. So your proposed extension time, you gonna get it done in time? I mean, I'd hate to think that you need another year or two at the end of it, and now we're gonna have to go through all this again in 3 years.
Jeff Ueoka, our hope is to complete it. If the commission would be gracious enough to grant us another year or two, we would take that. We didn't want to ask for too much, of course. This was our realistic timeline, but
I think that's my question. Is it realistic? Or are you do you have anybody here from the engineering, design, planning, construction part of your team?
I have our project manager here, but just to state, the unknown is always the approvals. The governmental agency approvals, we've been fighting with a water line for 2 years. If everything goes well, we will finish in time. If you guys are okay giving us till 2028, 2029, we'll take it. And just so you understand, no one's interested in dragging this out any longer.
Understand.
The money's on the board with the county. It's gonna,
Oh, that's a big one.
that once you take out the construction loan, you're paying interest. No one's trying to drag this out, but
So let's talk about the water line permit. So in your current assumed project timeline, when do you expect to get that?
the water line's done. It just needs to get accepted by the county. We're thinking that'll happen by the end of the month. That's one of the last 2 triggers for our 2-lot subdivision. We started constructing the water line in August of 2022. We finished it less than a year later in July, and we're in October, and it still has not been accepted by the county. So
you assume it'll be done in a month, but if it's done in a year and a month, do you need another year beyond 2027?
we'll need a lot of things if it's done in another year. But yeah, we would need more time. It would delay us.
Unfortunately,
yeah.
Okay.
Same as the 80-lot subdivision. We're anticipating it'll take about a year. We're hoping to get the construction approvals and all of that and be able to get building permits done concurrently, but we need to work on that. Yeah.
It's a big task. Commissioners, I'm prepared to take a break unless anybody else has a question to the county at this time. Okay, it's 10:43. Let's take 7 minutes. We'll be back at 10:50. Okay.
Last in line.
Last in line. Back on the record. 10:53 on the record. Commissioners, where we left off were questions for the county. Are there any final questions for the county?
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Oigashi.
Mr. Hopper, we've been hearing about a lot of how the fires have affected our the operations of the county government and how it may have involved intensive use of personnel from county government. I am trying to follow up on the petitioner's request that they would take additional time if necessary. Do you believe that the circumstances as they are now, with the county government being quite overwhelmed, I would assume, then quite busy on many different types of projects related to the fire, would that form a basis, would you agree that that may form a basis for giving additional time to complete this project?
Yes, the department would be supportive of additional time along those lines.
Thank you. No further questions.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Mr. Hopper. Let's proceed to the state. So, Mr. Eve.
Thank you. The Office of Planning and Sustainable Development is supportive of the project and the motion. Let me just discuss three things that came up during the hearing today. Moving backwards, first, the OPSD has no objection to an extension of an additional 2 years. Second, I know Commissioner Ohigashi also asked regarding a fuller record on why an extension is appropriate. I do know that the Commission faces a lot of petitioners who come in and they got 10 years, they come back after 9.5 years and says, I want another 10. And so you may be somewhat sensitive to that issue. Let me just, for the record, flesh this out. I think it's been discussed, but let me articulate that. The approval for this particular project was actually in 2019 when the affordable housing component came before the Commission. There was the unexpected and intervening event of COVID in 2020, just 1 year later, with many significant impacts, but including economic impacts, which, among other things, contributed to the economic infeasibility of the project. That is, the project could not have occurred. When COVID eventually ended, the project needed more money and therefore turned to the county. The county money, of course, took some time to obtain, and in fact is only in the budget for 2024. It's consequently an additional time to complete this is both excusable because it was not due to any negligence in the planning of the petitioner, and because it involved a number of events outside of their control. I will also note that this is a 100% affordable housing project, and therefore the need of it is significant, and that the additional time being requested is very reasonable, even including the additional 2 years. You briefly asked about the TIR. I'm not going to get into all of the aspects of it. Let me just note that traffic impact analysis reports as a general subject matter is always very important to the Office of Planning and Sustainable Development. It is entirely possible that this particular condition should be changed, but we have not had an opportunity to look at it. It was not raised in the motion, it was only raised yesterday, and in fact we only got a proposed a motion this morning. So we simply have not had time to look at it, and even if we agree that something should be changed, we need more time to look at what should that change be to make sure that whatever is done correctly. We have not been able to consult with the Department of Transportation or with any of the other planners in our office. So while we're certainly open to further discussion, and in fact this could be part of the additional issues that will arise with Emmanuel Lutheran and their need to come back before you, and we could perhaps combine it with that. In addition to the fact that we also don't think it's necessary to be dealt with at this time, it does not affect the motion today or their movement forward. We think we respectfully would ask that this matter not be addressed by the Commission today. But this does not detract at all from our very strong support for this motion and the project. Happy to answer any questions.
I just got a quick one, and then I'll turn it to them. So the condition regarding the TIR, you're basically taking the position that if it's to be changed, today's not the day to change it. We should do that down the road.
Correct.
There's a related coming from yesterday about the bifurcation of conditions in general. And this commission, where it sits today, is that all conditions apply to both parties, the church and the development. So it appears to me that this matter of the conditions and who applies to where will have to come back before this commission at some point anyway. Is that the appropriate time in your mind to deal with the TIR issue?
Yes, and I think I would add into that the fact that Emmanuel Lutheran will have to look at what they're proposing, make changes and possibly other changes to the conditions.
Yeah.
So since it's not in our view, time sensitive today. It'd be great if we could deal with all of these issues, with all of the conditions all at once.
Thank you. Commissioners, any questions for the state? I got a general question, and it may involve again Mr. Uyoka, but it's more a comment than a question. But I would invite comments from all three parties. So, if you refer back to our prior hearing on the prior status report, concern was expressed by the commission when you were moving from the duplexes to the 100% single-family housing, in particular because you eliminated the park and you eliminated green space. And the question that was raised, I think it's in the record, such as, are we going in the wrong direction by eliminating green space in terms of its impact on climate change? What can we do to preserve the green space? What you showed us yesterday in your PowerPoint was, despite the fact that park was eliminated because there was a consequential increase in the yard sizes of the individual homes, and you did all the analysis, that the net increase in green space was occurring even though you were going from duplexes to single-family houses. So I'd like you to comment, just to confirm my understanding or change my understanding, that despite the fact you've gone to 100% single-family houses, the impact on the climate, for which this body has to pay attention to, is actually net positive.
Jeff Uyoka. Yes, there's the deletion of the park, but also deletion of the road. And yards, well, lots increased, houses stayed the same, yards increased. So yes, the overall effect is an increase of green space in the plan. Thank you.
Which should be net minor, but net positive for the climate.
Yes, it's a small.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Any comment by state or county on that representation?
No, Chair.
Thank you.
Nothing from OPSD.
Okay. Commissioners, anything further for the state? I think we're good, huh? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Yee. Petitioner, rebuttal, final comments or evidence you'd like to present?
Jeff Uyoka, no, thank you. I guess look forward to coming back on the bifurcation of the conditions. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll see you for that. Yeah, and maybe for a future extension. We don't know yet. Okay, we're going to give the public.
One question.
Okay, Commissioner Ohigashi.
Would you object to an additional time of 2 years to complete the project?
Jeff Uyoka, no, sir. We would appreciate it. Thank you.
Time for a second call for public testimony, if any. Ms. Kwan, is there any members of the public that wish to testify on the motion before us now?
No, Mr. Chair.
So, Commissioners, any further discussion or questions for the parties? Okay, Commissioners, the Chair will entertain, we're going into deliberations, and the Chair will entertain a motion regarding how the Commission should proceed with this matter. Commissioners, what is your pleasure?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Ohigashi.
I move to approve petitioner's motion for extension of time to complete the project from 9/7/24 to 9/7/29, and the notification of HRS 201H WAIKAPU Affordable Housing Project filed on June 6, 2023 as described by petitioner today, including their updated description of the 201H project, which shall constitute their representation for the purposes of Condition 1 of the DNO petition.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Yamane.
I second the motion, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. So, at this point, I ask the move on to speak in support of his motion.
I believe that there is sufficient good cause shown to for the extension to complete the project. Rather than going through it, I like Mr. Yee's rendition of what had occurred, as well as the petitioner's rendition of what has occurred that led us to this point. And I believe that those are all not intentional nor negligent in their application. Good cause does exist in this case. I'm asking that it be extended another 2 years based upon the fact that of the fire and the incredible burden that's put on the county of Maui to react to those fires, and everything needs to be done to push this project forward, so additional time is necessary. I find that I believe it won't delay the project, as the petitioner has indicated they're going to be paying interest on their construction loan, and given the fact that these are not, my understanding, not mega developers from all over, and are locally based, that is incentive enough for them to complete the project as soon as possible. Finally, that we accepted the submittals of the description of the project for the purposes of condition 1.
Thank you, Commissioner Higashi. Commissioners, any further comment from anyone in support or just in general on motion? Commissioner Giovanni.
I also will be supporting this motion. I believe the petition has supplied us very updated status reports. I'm very happy for it. Thank you very much. I also believe that the extension is reasonable due to events that occurred, and I'm hoping that the next time we see you, you're going to give us good news, because this is affordable housing and it's very important to the state of Hawaii. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Commissioners? Here.
Chair.
Where are we? Commissioner Carson.
Just commenting that I support the motion and the project. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other? Mr. Lee.
Thank you, Chair. Nobody likes delays, but I think in this situation it is justified. It's almost impossible to build affordable housing, so I think I'd be okay with giving them a little bit more leeway. Thank you.
Thank you. So the chair also will vigorously support this motion, and it's as presented by Commissioner Higashi. I think it's a very important project. I'm very appreciative of the community coming forward in support of it. I've heard no negative comment whatsoever about the project. I think the delays are understandable, regrettable, but understandable. And I would support the additional time you need, because I think you're going to need it, despite how motivated you are. I also concur with Commissioner Imani in terms of the progress that you've made just in the few months since we last saw you before the commission, and that's what we were looking for. Not Commissioner Yee, although sometimes he might think that way, as Mr. Yee has said, this commission gets frustrated with these large affordable housing projects with very optimistic timelines that go nowhere. There's literally thousands and thousands of approved projects across the state that are just sitting in limbo. But the circumstances you're dealing with, and let me just comment that it would have been easy to abandon this project when it didn't pencil out at the end of COVID. And let me commend the county and the county council for recognizing the importance of this project to the community and finding a way to find $10.65 million, because that gap funding, or you wouldn't be here today. So thank you to the county and the county residents and support of your council for amending the budget, and the county administration for making this potentially a reality. So I will be, like I say, in support of the motion. Mr. Atta, anything? Commissioner Atta.
Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate the fact that in all these things that I went through, so that you're still looking at the climate change and the fact that you have more green space and less car. That really is a good idea, actually, and thank you for that. I'll be supporting.
Thank you. Any final comments? Mr. Orndegger, please take a roll call vote.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The motion is to approve petitioner WDV's motion for extension of time to complete project from 9/7/24 to 9/7/29 and notification of amendment to HRS 201H WAIKAPU Affordable Housing Project filed on June 6, 2023, and as described by petitioners today, including their updated description of the 201H project, which shall constitute their representation for purposes of Condition 1. Commissioner Ohigashi.
Yes.
Commissioner Yamane.
Aye.
Commissioner Okuda is excused. Commissioner Lee.
Aye.
Commissioner Kamakeo Hello.
Aye.
Commissioner Kahele.
Yes.
Commissioner Carr-Smith.
Aye.
Commissioner Atta.
Yes.
Chair Giovanni.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The motion passes unanimously with 8 votes.
Great. Go to work. So this concludes our meeting.
By the way, did you notice, Mr. Yi, that he tried to demote you again?
We'll deal with Mr. Yi, inclusive of these proceedings. Okay. This concludes our meeting. There's no further business is there any further business to discuss? Anyone? If not, I declare this meeting adjourned. Thank you for your time.